Omaha.com subscribers and Nebraska high school sports fans, welcome in to the latest episode of the Prep Zone podcast. Mike Patterson and Stu Pospisil are here with me today to recap an exciting week one in football and also talk a little volleyball as well. So, guys, plenty of headlines from Friday night. Where should we start? We have Westside's beatdown of Creighton Prep. BAT, you were there, and Stu, obviously, you've been to both Bellevue West games. So, it's up to you guys. Where should we start?
Well, let's start with number one and Omaha Westside. You know, with 8 or 17 returning starters, guys, you knew Westside was going to be certainly on the short list of contenders. They have almost all the pieces back. Prep is reloading. Some the first week against Bellevue West, it was 27-14. You know, you didn't know how to read that game. Now you kind of read it a little bit more that maybe Bellevue West isn't as good, and Prep may be looking at a definite rebuild season because it was 57-7. And, Mike, I think you could probably say that Paul Amanji called off the dogs.
Yeah, it was 45-7 at halftime. So
you had the running clock, obviously.
Right. 14-7, Prep had just scored. Then they kicked off to Westside, and Caleb Benning went 88 yards for a touchdown, and boy, nothing good happened for Prep after that. It was just all Westside, total domination, and like you said, it's Westside right now, and North looks like they might make a little noise. And
well, I think Elkhorn South too.
And Elkhorn South.
You know, I think those are the big three right now. You know, I was really impressed with North last week, and that was with Sebastian Serko having what I would call an average game. But, you know, Khalil Champ Davis, 3 touchdown passes. I mean, he made Serko look good last week. But it was the defense. I mean, Tyson Terry and Samarius Henderson up front really got Nebraska recruit Danny Kalin out of sync, and I don't know. Isaiah McMorris didn't play. He's been dealing with a hamstring issue. I don't think that would have made a difference in this one, other than maybe one more touchdown, because Kalin was overthrowing his deep balls and got picked off once while throwing on the run. And I think North certainly showed that Westside, which plays Bellevue West in 2 weeks, what the formula is.
You mentioned defense, and that probably gets overshadowed when your offense scores 57 points. But, you know, Prep just couldn't really move the ball against that Westside defense. First half, second half, and really their only scoring drive was aided by 2 or 3 penalties that kept the drive alive, and I think they scored. It was 4th and 4, and they ended up scoring their 1 touchdown. So kind of belated props to the Westside defense because they really brought it too.
Well, Prep doesn't have Marty Brown this year, and Marty, North Dakota State freshman right now, they've got, and there may not be anybody like him in the program. I mean, you know, you've got good running backs that only come along so often. So, you know, if Prep has to rely on the throw, I'm not sure that's their forte this year, and they had to rebuild their lines.
Yeah, so that's where Prep is at. I mean, you guys mentioned, I think, over the weekend, that was their worst loss in over 100 years.
Yes.
They sit at 0-2 for the first time in how long?
No, they've had some 0-2 starts.
Okay.
But, and they've been 1-3 recently. I mean, you know, they need to probably pick up one this week against Miller North. That's a Thursday night special that I'm not sure how many people are going to be at Burke Stadium because there's a little game going on against it up in Minneapolis. So.
Oh, I've heard that. You know, you mentioned 0-2, Dillon. I don't think that was a surprise because they're playing the number 1 and 2 teams. Yeah. People probably thought that Prep was going to be 0-2 after that, but and they played Bellevue West close, but did not play Westside close. So, yeah, time for the Junior Jays to regroup. And boy, after that that beatdown that they suffered, I'm sure they're really motivated in practice this week, and we'll see what happens against Millard North.
For sure. No, I mean, that's definitely a tough start, like you said. That's a good point there, the top 2 ranked teams in the preseason. But, you know, it's too early for this probably. It's just week 1. But you look at Westside's schedule. You know, they got Grand Island this Friday, then Bellevue West after that, Millard North, Norfolk, North Platte.
North Platte beat Westside last year.
Okay.
At North Platte.
I was going to say, point me to a loss, but okay.
And Kearney's on the schedule. Westside goes out there. You know, they don't. Check that schedule again. I believe, don't they have Elkhorn South towards the end of the year?
They have Millard South, second to last. And then,
Millard South. Okay.
Yep.
I knew
Kearney's
we
in
got
there.
so many Souths and Norths and Northwest and directional schools that. And Millard South had a good win, 28-27 over Millard West last week. So before we tackle the Benson situation, why I just run down the top 10 and the number ones in the other classes.
Yeah, let's do that quick.
Elkhorn South moves up to number 2 after 35-7 over Lincoln Southeast. North got 2 notches up to number 3. Gretna, a solid win over a Burke team with a late coaching change there, sitting 4. Millard South 5. Papillion La Vista, good win over previous number 4. Millard North 28-10. They're 6. Kearney 7. Bellevue West falls from 2nd to 8th. Papio South 2-0 with wins at North Platte and then against Fremont last week. That's my game of the week on Friday night. Papio South. If PLV Stadium isn't filled to capacity, I'll be shocked. I know I'm going to get there early. Millard West stays 10th. Millard North falls out. Class B, Bennington, disputed touchdown at the end against Omaha Scott. 14-13 win for the Badgers, 27th straight in a row. They stay 1. Elkhorn North was idle. They're 2, and Scott remains 3. In C1, Aurora beat Grand Island Northwest 50-30. Some little brother of a Creighton basketball player named Shireman. This one would be Booker Shireman. Accounted for all 7 touchdowns for Aurora, and he's only a junior. So he's going to. Baylor could have been a college quarterback. I think little brother is definitely looking at the college football route. Oregon C2, North Platte, St. Pat's, an 8-man 1, South Loop, an 8-man 2, and Lincoln Parkview and 6-man continue to head those ratings.
You bet. Yeah, we saw Booker last year at Memorial Stadium, right? The Huskies were there. Were there last year as well.
Decimated at the end,
Yep.
and Pierce was with Ben Bramer and
Yes.
company Abram Schulting at quarterback. That was a clinic that day.
That was a good day for the Blue Jays for sure. So no, I mean I wanted to ask you guys a little bit about that controversial ending of the Bennington Scott game. I liked how you kept Scott at 3 because you look at some different angles on Twitter and. From one, it looks like he got in. You look at the down the line version, it looked like his shoulder was breaking the plane, but maybe the ball, you couldn't really see the ball.
Well, there's no instant replay.
No.
So, yeah, and you've got an official that's making $75 as a hobby. It was very, very close. I don't think he got in. Looking at the angle that I saw that was from the side judge, right on the goal line. But again, it was a little bit inside the goal line. I don't know. You would think those two are going to see each other again at some point. And I think it says that, Bennington had some moxie. They lost their offensive coordinator to Fort Calhoun as head coach, lose their 2-year starting quarterback, running back. So they're kind of reloading a bit. Scott's got a big senior class. I think... you maybe throw Waverly in and possibly Scotts Bluff. I think those top 5, Bennington's not going to be head and shoulders above everybody else, and it should be for a fun year in Class B.
I think Stu made a point where those refs are making $75 a game. They're not the pro referees, and we're so conditioned to the replay these days and the NFL and Major League Baseball and everything, and those guys are doing the best they can. Like you said, it was a really close call either way. Could have gone either way. So it's really hard to come down on the refs in a situation like that. You live with their decision, and I think, fans would probably disagree, possibly, the militant ones, but the athletic directors and everybody who matters in schools know that, hey, those guys are out there doing their best, and we're going to live with what their decision is.
Probably errors more unnoticed during the game. It's the one that gets noticed, and if it was an error, again, it's like a sheet of paper or a binder difference there. So
a little off topic, but I think we're maybe going a little too over the top on this on replay or automated umpires
Yes.
and things like that. It's like, there has to be a human element at some point. So, I mean, that's another whole discussion. But, it was a close call either way, and it went Bennington's way.
Well, do you want to tackle my alma mater?
Yeah, so we were talking about some blowouts, and so Lincoln North Star this weekend, 93-0 against Benson on Friday night.
Yeah, it was 49-0 after a quarter, 86-0 after a half, which already broke the Class A modern-day scoring record. Benson thought at the end of last season it was going to have really promising season. They were 3-6, lost one in double overtime, lost another on a late field goal. They returned a all-metro player. They returned a wide receiver that has a Nebraska offer as a freshman. And then in the off season, Terrence Mackey, their coach of 5 years, applies for and takes the Central High job. His co-coach in the Jaguars program at the Boys Club, Abdul Muhammad, former Husker, comes with him. The Boys Club kids had been going largely to North and Central. Now they were starting to come to Benson because those two had been there. Well, the migration didn't include just Mackey and Muhammad. It included 17 players, including those two honor kids going over. So instead of Benson having a roster of about 50 and probably 15 to 18 starters back, they were left with 32 players, including 10 freshmen, 2 players with starting experience, and a new coach, and you could see this coming. So from all my visits over the weekend, they intend to keep playing. Ryan Hansen of Omaha Bryan, who is the coach of the team Benson plays this week, said that his first year, Bryan was down to 17 players, having to go back-to-back weeks to Grand Island and Millard West. 8 or 9 of those kids were freshmen. They didn't throw in the towel. They kept playing, and Bryan this year, given its schedule, I think could have a 4 or 5 win season and maybe be where a Benson could be. South last year was another team that was 4-5, loses its coach to Omaha Burke, and OPS is not going to work against professional advancement, is what they've said. So you can move around as evidently a player and coach in OPS, and there's going to be no repercussions. So, more power to Benson, and I think that the coaches out there that have Benson yet on the schedule, I would say the great majority aren't going to, just try and beat their heads into a pulp, because nobody wants to see football given up at a school.
Well, 1 point, Stu, and Benson does play North in a couple of weeks, so that's a big red flag there. But I think one of the problems with the score going so high is that with the mercy rule, you get the running clock, but that only goes into effect in the second half. So
yes and no. You can agree at any time. If it looks like safety or emergency, you can implement the 35 after a quarter.
Okay, because that score obviously went
Doug
really
Gold's,
high in the first half.
Yeah, Doug Gold's at False Sacred Heart, 8-man power for years and years. He's invoked that a couple times. Talking to the opposing coach, there's the team sitting 0-6. They've had the mercy rule every week on them. Doug says, "Listen, we're not going to beat you guys up. We're going to, let's play a quarter of normal timing, and then we'll play run time after that. And if it gets out of hand, you can also terminate." But I don't see that being. If you're playing your JV kids, if you're playing the bottom of the bench, and a game like against Benson or Northwest or South this year, you ought to be clearing the bench if you've got a sizable lead.
That seems like something you should address before the game starts, not, hey, it's first quarter and it's 42-0 already, whatever.
You've got a new coach from Benson and a second-year coach from Lincoln North Star. The North Star won 2 games last year. One of those was over Benson. So, again, it's not like you've had Tom Jaworski and Fred Petito out there. These guys are learning almost as much on the job as the kids. And I think it's important for Benson to be able to play running clock because you got to get your kids experience somehow. And as long as they're not, sending out Tyson Terry in the second quarter against Benson, unless the score is 14-0. If you've got, and Larry Martin is as concerned about the Benson situation, I can tell you, as anybody, because he does not want, he's in it for the right reasons, the game, and North is very, very good, and those kids know each other, and, Benson caught a bad break with what happened with the migration.
Hashtag Larry Martin, fellow Bears fan.
There we go. Yeah, we had to save time for that, right? We want 30 seconds on how the Bears are going to win the North this
Well, I
year?
know you're a Vikings guy, Dillon. So, it looks like it's up for grabs. We finally got number 12 out of Green Bay, so that's a positive. So
All I'm going to say is we still got the best quarterback in the division. I'm pretty sure, Kirk Cousins. So.
I'll give the Bears a shot. We'll see.
Go Lions.
Well, yeah,
I root through the NFC North except for the Vikings.
Is that right?
Okay. Now,
All right.
he has told me that his two favorite teams are the Bears and the Packers. That is impossible. That's like cheering for the North and the South in the Civil War. So
I like a good battle.
I said pick a team, make it the Bears, and go from there.
Exactly. Yeah, you pick one of them. Jeez.
It's tough twice a year.
Yeah. Well, and it's been really tough.
No, I will never root for the Cardinals against the Cubs. I mean, we have our demarcation lines
Sure.
here. It's Cubs all the way. And, I'll explain this real quick. When I was growing up, Jerry Taggy off the national championship team was Green Bay's quarterback. So a 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid's going to root for the national championship quarterback now playing pro football. Professional life, I've become good friends with an old photographer from Channel 7, Bob Horter, who grew up in Oak Park, Illinois, wore a Blackhawks coat about 9 months out of the year. And so he's Chicago Bears for sure, and obviously Cubs. And I had gotten into the Cubs because one of my buddies at UNL was a diehard Braves fan because of when we got cable in Nebraska. And I couldn't root for the Mets because they had traded Tom Seaver. So I fell in love with the Cubs.
Too much information. You should just cheer for the Royals, who are probably going to lose 120 games this year. So there's plenty
and
of
they
room.
might still beat Oakland.
Plenty of room on the bandwagon.
Bottom of the barrel.
They
there,
can't
for
lose
sure.
120. They got 41 wins. Or 42 wins.
Are you sure about that?
Can
I
they
think
lose
so.
out
Well, look
now?
at your Morning
Yeah.
World-Herald.
I think anything's possible this year with the Royals in a negative way.
Lose
so.
out in September here? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So, all right, guys, we're about done here. I wanted to try a new segment out real quick, just called Breakout Baller. And where that's going to be somebody that kind of just jumped off to you this week. So, Stu, I think we kind of decided on Champ Davis this week. You were there. You talked to him after the game. Really kind of a breakout game for the sophomore.
Yeah, well, I'd say Champ Davis and Peyton Prestito from Papio. One running, one catching. Peyton, excuse me. I'm going to say Preston for some reason. It's Peyton Prestito, and he's very good. And he and the Jarman kid from Omaha North, Cannon, had a good game for North. But running backs are kind of in short supply. Champ Davis, which he prefers over Khalil, 5 catches, 162 yards, 3 touchdown haul-ins from Sebastian Serco. Has a Nebraska offer on the table. It won't be the last.
Absolutely.
I have to throw in, and this isn't exactly a surprise, but Caleb Benning for Westside returned a kickoff for 88 yards for a touchdown. He caught a TD pass of about 30 yards. He intercepted a pass that set up another score, and he just impacted that game several ways. So
I think he had his breakout last year.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
I
he might
He's
not
already been
count. He's
broken out.
already.
Yeah,
I was going to say
he's giving a lot of people, an itchy rash.
I was going to say
We can
it's
almost
not,
pick him every week. Yeah. No.
not exactly a new name, but is it Javez Ross?
Jamet.
Yeah. Westside's running back. He
3
had a really
touchdowns,
he had a
right?
really
Yep.
nice game too, and of course Rezak, the quarterback, had a nice game, and Christian Jones had a nice game on defense.
How about Kenyon Cotton? Did he get much action?
He scored a touchdown. He was behind the prep secondary and caught like a 56-yard TD
Okay.
pass. And
Because he's got the family speed, and he was injured quite a bit last year. If he stays healthy, he's probably the football player in the family after a couple brothers that went big-time track.
when I talked to Caleb Benning after the game, he was a little apologetic because on that kickoff, it came down to him and Keenan at the same time, and he said he kind of maybe took it away a little bit. I mean, I didn't really see it that way. It was just coming down right between them, but he ended up going 88 yards, and he said, yeah, I felt a little bad that I took the ball away from him, but if you're going 88 yards, I don't think you should feel too bad.
No. Seniors have a little seniority there, so
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, Cotton will get his.
Right.
Absolutely. So, no, a lot of impressive Warrior performances for sure on Friday night.
Agreed.
Can we wrap up with volleyball real quick? PAT, you were at Papio the other night to watch the Gretna transfer Faith Frame. She was playing her old team.
Right.
What'd you think of the Monarchs?
She's a excuse me. She's
Monarchs new libero, right? Is that yep?
Yep, she's an outstanding player and a great addition to the Monarchs. And talked to her after the match, and she felt a little bad playing against her former teammates, but she did a great job, and she's going to be a really nice addition to the Monarchs. So, the Monarchs lost the first set, came back and won in 4. So they're going to be one of the top teams in Class A. And let's touch on the Bellevue West Invitational that was this past weekend. That's really one of the biggest ones all season that they run right off the bat. And Papio South, our number 1 team in Class A, went 6-0 to win that tournament. They defeated Omaha Scott, the 8-time defending Class B champions. That went the 3-set maximum. So Papio South was victorious. So let's run down our top 10 here real quick, Dillon. Got Papio South 1, Scott 2, Lincoln Southwest 3, Papio 4, Gretna 5, Elkhorn North 6, Millard North 7, Norris 8, Lincoln East 9, and Millard West is 10. And our number 1s in all the classes, Papio South, Scott, Class C1, Grand Island Central Catholic, where Sharon Zavala's won more than 1,150 matches and counting, state record, obviously. C2, Lincoln Lutheran, the team that went 40-0 last year. They're number 1 in C2. Sumner Eddyville Miller, known as SEM, is number 1 in D1, and Overton is number 1 in D2. And we move on to this week, and we'll see what happens.
Any big matches this week that we're going to cover? Putting you on the spot.
It's a little bit of a quiet week after that big Bellevue West tournament. There's a few kind of smaller tournaments going on Saturday. A lot of the teams are kind of avoiding the middle of the week because of the big volleyball. Right. Big volleyball.
Forgot about that, yep.
Big volleyball in Nebraska, obviously, tomorrow night, Wednesday night. And like Stu said, there's football game on Thursday night. We got Labor Day coming up this weekend. So,
and the season got moved up a week.
Yeah.
A couple years ago. So the state tourney could be played earlier in November. So Bellevue moved its tourney up, and then there's kind of a week gap that some have tried to fill. But
right.
And the season's long enough. You don't have to play every single weekend.
Absolutely not. Loved your story on Omaha.com about all of the high school teams that will be at Memorial Stadium tomorrow to catch that match.
Yeah,
matches.
It's going to be the place to be. So I'll be part of that 90,000 throng out in the stands with my wife, and I know she's really excited about seeing it. And we've seen the photos of what the turf already looks like with the court on it and everything. So it's going to be a huge marquee night for not just Nebraska volleyball, but volleyball in the state.
We'll be in front of the tube.
Yep. I will be too. Absolutely. Can't wait. So
I'll wave at you guys. I'll be the one wearing red.
Make sure and unfurl one of those signs like World-Herald. Do we have one of those little?
Kind of
Can we make one?
Reminds me, I was covering a Nebraska game many years ago, and I was sitting next to Blair Kirchhoff of the Kansas City Star, and he said his son was out in the crowd, and I said, how are you ever going to find him? He said, well, he's wearing a purple shirt, and I looked out there. Sure enough, there was one little purple speck. So, hey, if you want to find me, maybe I should wear something non-red.
That would work, yeah, because we got black for Wayne State and blue
Blue,
for Kearney,
yeah.
and
Red and
Red,
black.
red
and black
for
for Omaha,
UNO.
yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
you betcha.
Lime orange or lime green or
Yeah, one of those
Something bright.
neon. Yeah.
one of those hunter vests.
Wait, I got one of those NSAA media vest.
The orange one.
Well, no, the ones that make you look like
yeah.
a crossing guard.
Yeah, you were supposed to turn that in at the end of the tournament, by the way. So
Well, I'm moonlighting.
if you say so.
I appreciate you guys for coming on and talking today. We can wrap it up, and we'll be back next week to talk week 2 of football and maybe a little volleyball as well. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Dillon.